Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going fabulous. Thank you. This is round two. I hope you bared with me during the double voiceover. But today we're going to create a card using the Altenew Craft-A-Flower. It's called Cistus, and it's a beautifully layered die set. You can create two flowers, and then there's some leaves that you can also create with this die set. So basically, if you can bring out your colored cardstocks, your ink blended cardstock, your scrap papers, and then you can create some beautiful flowers. Today I wanted to go olivey greeny color, so we're bringing in some green cardstock, and we're going to add a little background with the narrow brick stencil. This is a fairly new stencil and I just love it. I thought we would add some white texture paste to the back. Now I'm only going to do a portion of my green cardstock. This is how I want it to look on my card base basically. So when I add texture paste, I'm just going to add it to the middle section. I'll basically later on trim off the excess is overhanging. I'm actually layering it on my card base. I'm using Ranger's texture paste. It's white and I'm going to keep it white, and I'm not going to go over the whole background. I'm just going to spread it out in the mid section, and I'm keeping it really organic, kind of rustic looking. And if I do have any straight edges, I'll just add a little more texture paste till I get so it's like a messy cement kind of look, well, messy brick mortar look, I should say. I'm just going to spread it out, and I don't want it completely centered, like I said, kind of keeping it in an oval shape. Some of the flowers are going to cover most parts of it, but I'm doing this first because I want to dry, and then by the time we layer our flowers, our panel should be dry. And I think this looks wonderful. I'm going to go ahead, put the cap back on my texture paste so it doesn't dry out, and we'll remove our stencil. And I just love the way this looks. Kind of like if you go into some Mexican restaurants where they have that the wall that has the brick showing. That's kind of what this reminds me of. I just marked it with my pencil to where I need to trim. And now we are going to do some die cutting. So we're going to grab some colored cardstock. Now I googled Cistus flowers, and for the most part they're white. So I thought we'd make a real pretty white, but I wanted the layers to stand out. So we're going to actually sandwich some ivory cardstock between the white layers. I'm going to die cut out the base layer with white cardstock, second layer with ivory cardstock, and then the third layer we're going to go back to white, just so that midsection stands out against the layers. And I think it turned out really good. There is some flower centers, two of them actually. The flower center that looks like a flower, I'm going to die cut that out with brown cardstock, and then the flower stamen I'm going to die cut out with some pale yellow cardstock. For the leaves, I want 3 leaves, so I'm putting the most solid leaf on the lightest green, and then just the second layer will be the mid-tone, third layer is the darkest green. And I want 3 of those leaves, so I'll die cut out 3 leaves of each. Okay, everything is die cut. I actually had to die cut this out again because that third piece of your largest flower has that little moon shape. You want to make sure you grab that when you run that through your die cut machine. Now I added the ivory cardstock this way. When I have my layers, it's just a little bit more vivid with the detail, and this is a great way to do it if you want to create some white flowers. I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to my ivory cardstock. We're going to just place this over our white cardstock. Now if you guys want to speed up the process, I suggest maybe using some double-sided adhesive sheets and turning these guys into stickers. It makes it so easy. You just remove the release paper and stick it down to create your layers. But I don't mind using the glue. It's actually was hindsight. After I die cut them out, I thought, oh, I should have used my adhesive sheets. But no big deal. They're big enough flowers to where I think I can handle a little glue on the fingers. So that's our flower. Now this little piece that we die cut out with the brown cardstock is our first flower center. I'm going to use my packaging as a guide, and I have to tell you, this one was a little tricky lining up. So what I did was put the second layer over the top, which was the yellow stamen piece. It's actually adhered to my brown piece. The brown piece does have a little itty bitty piece that you add to the very corner. I went ahead and glued that down, and then this one didn't have, usually you can line it up with the curve of your flower, but that middle didn't have one. So I kind of had to eyeball it, but I think I placed it pretty good. It looks pretty. Now we're going to move along to our second flower. Again, I'm going to take my ivory middle piece, add that to my white base piece. And this one was very easy to line up. You just, all the petals are different, so you just line up the petals with it. Once that's adhered, we'll take our third layer piece, add some glue behind it, and then this is with white cardstock, so we're going to layer this on top of the ivory. Now my camera is a little bit whitewashed out, but in the close-up pictures you'll be able to see the layers it created just with that piece of ivory cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that. Once this is adhered, I have that little moon shaped piece for my third layer. I'm going to go ahead and look at the packaging, figure out where this goes. It's easiest for me to position the flower the same way it is on the packaging, and then this will basically tell you what petal to put it on. We'll go ahead and add a little glue right there, and then we'll just pick this piece up and add this to our petal, and we are good to go. Okay, now this flower center was a lot easier. You can see how pretty the layers look. This flower center is a lot easier to adhere. I don't think there's any right way or wrong way to put this flower center, or the second layer to the center. But I'm going to go ahead and find my little key points and add this to the center. If you wanted to pop, there's room to pop this up if you wanted a little bit more dimension too, which is nice. So those are our beautiful cistus flowers. Lovely. Okay, we'll set those aside and work on our 3-layer leaves. We're going to go ahead and add our middle tone green to our lightest green here. This is super easy to line up. There's 2 different leaves. I just used the same one for my card today, but if you want to use different leaves, you could. I'm going to go ahead and add glue behind my 3rd layer, which is the darkest green. This is easy to line up, and then I'll continue on with the rest of my leaves here. So we have 2 flowers and 3 leaves in total. And I love the Craft-A-Flowers. I don't know about you guys, I just think they look so pretty on a card. Looks like you spent forever on them, but they're super easy. Okay, flowers are all done, and I just think they look so pretty. We're going to go ahead and check our brick background, and I think it is dry enough to where we could work with it. I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and we're going to trim off the edge. I think we're basically trimming off a little over 3/4 of an inch. It's a bit of an odd measurement, but that's okay. But you can see it as long as that brick is kind of centered in your panel. Next, I'm going to take my eraser and erase my pencil marks, and then I'm going to bring in a piece of fun foam and put that behind my panel. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my card base, which is a standard A2 size card base. I just removed the release paper off of my fun foam. The fun foam that I use is adhesive backed, so one side has adhesive, the other doesn't. I just have to add adhesive to one side, just easier, and I have lots of it. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and add my flowers to the bottom corner, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some foam adhesive behind my leaves. I did pop up my flowers with foam adhesive, but we'll put 1 leaf on the bottom here. I love greens and browns. I think it's very earthy and very organic looking. I'm going to go ahead and add this leaf to the top. You can't just slide it in because you have that texture, so you kind of have to be a little careful. Then we'll go ahead and add our second leaf here, and I think it looks so pretty. Okay, for my sentiment, we're going to bring in a sentiment stamp set from Altenew. It's all about sentiments, and a lot of them are encouraging. but it's called the bold or the block sentiments. And I'm just going to use the sentiment that says, "You are awesome." I'm stamping it with my Memento Rich Cocoa ink. Now my ink pad's pretty dry, and when I stamped it, it's okay, but not as solid as I wanted it. I wanted it to be almost as dark as the center of my flowers. So I'm going to bring in the Misty and do a restamping. This way I can stamp it like 2 or 3 times and get a real solid brown sentiment strip. And I think this is way better. You can see the color difference here. I'm just going to use my scissors and block it off. These are easy to do. I am going to leave a little bit of a white border around my sentiment, and then I'll add some foam adhesive or foam tape behind, and then we're going to put this on the bottom of our card base. And then all we have left is to embellish our card with bells and whistles. And I'm just bringing in some brown sequins that I've had in my stash, and that completes my card today, guys. My card is actually part of a blog hop that Altenew is having. I encourage you guys to join in. There is a giveaway to go along with it, and there's tons of inspiration. Have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for joining me. We will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.